Welcome back to We're All Gonna Die, hosted by myself, Isaac Jakobs. I want to start today with a story, a poem, a piece of writing that I read recently. Like most people, you are probably waiting for something to happen. Maybe you're waiting to fall in love. Maybe you're waiting for your career to take off. But this is the problem. You are eager to get someplace other than where you are. You want to be somewhere in the distance where the grass is greener. However, the grass is never greener, but it does fade. It fades and becomes something else because life is constantly changing. When life does change, you will probably miss the way it was. You may miss those long morning drives or walk to the office or those hectic family gatherings. You may miss them because those moments are finite. You will only travel those streets and see those people a certain amount of times. Every time you do something is one less time you do it. One day you will find something the final time, and you will really know that that's the day that you've found it is the final time. For all you know, today might be the last time you walked in a particular neighborhood. It might have been the last time you smiled at a particular person. To think otherwise would be foolish. Nothing is guaranteed except for this moment. Your only real choice is to cherish every exchange like it's your last, because it very well may be. Therefore, the best way to cherish life is to remind yourself of life's impermanence. It is to remember that every time you see someone is one less time you see them. Every time you go somewhere, it's one less time you visit. By doing this, you naturally slow down. Almost like a reflex, you start to truly live. That was written by an entrepreneur and creative director, Andrew Anabi. I hope I'm saying his name right. Never met the guy, bigwig in the United States. But wanting to look at that piece and delve into it a bit deeper, that life isn't always greener concept, that grass isn't always greener. It's just different. We have to be aware that the grass might not be greener. It might be greener. It might just be different grass. You might have memories of yourself. I certainly do, of our experiences and things changing. Everything changes. Everything's impermanent. We've talked about that, and everything's in that state of flux. I had a friend. I won't name them, a bloke. Went to high school with him. We were best mates for a season. We were best mates for a few years, actually, not just one season. A few years we were good friends. And then life got in the way and we left school and I never saw this guy again. I mean, I see him around, we have small talk, but he was one of my closest friends. And now nothing more than that bit of small talk when we bump into each other. We wouldn't plan to spend time together. We wouldn't go out of our way to meet one another. If you moved schools like me when you were a younger kid, if you didn't, you lucked out having that crew of people around you and that semi-permanence. But those childhood friends, you might have had friends that you thought were going to be friends for life. Even as young as 5, 6, 7 years old, when we start going to school, we think these things. And actually, that's not the case. How many people can you think back? You might have forgotten some of these people existed. It's not hurtful to them. It's just remembering, oh, wow. What about him? What about her? You might have thought those friendships were for life, but where are those people now? And I must have a quick shout out to some of my friends that I did go to primary school with, and you know who you are if you're watching or listening, and you're still in my life. So despite me moving cities and despite me moving schools numerous times, you're still in my life, so thank you. But those friendships, those relationships, maybe I mentioned my friend from high school earlier, they haven't ended. And it's not a dig at them. It's not a dig at you for letting them end. And it's not a dig at the other person for them potentially moving on with their lives as well. It's just being aware that this has already happened before and it will happen again. But in the moment, you don't think about the ending. Talking about that piece, it talks about appreciating the finite nature of life. And we talked about this in the last episode, in the introductory episode, appreciating the finite moment. And this idea that our actions, our choices, things that we choose to do every time it occurs is one less time that we'll get to do something. For me, I've recently started going up Mount Maunganui every Saturday morning without fail, at dawn, to catch the sunrise and to catch it from the top. You can catch it from up halfway, if you miss it, or maybe you're not feeling exercise that day, you're not feeling super fit. But getting to the top of Mount Maunganui and watching that sunrise, it starts my day right. It gives me purpose to what can otherwise be an empty day, and it's a beautiful, ever-changing sight. No two sunrises are the same. They might be similar, but no two sunrises are the same. And each time I do it, I know that it's one less time I'll get to do it. So by then knowing it's one less time I get to do it, I'm motivated not to miss it. I'm motivated not to sleep in. I'm motivated not to stay up too late on Friday night. I'm motivated not to make other plans, because if I miss this amazing sight, this beautiful sunrise at the top of Mount Maunganui, that's not only one sunrise that I'll never get to see, it's one less time that I will get to see it. It's a bit, you got to get your head around that. It takes a second, but whether you do something or not is a choice. Whether you do something or not is a choice. And either way, it is one less time you'll get to do that thing. Think about that for a second. Whether I go up the mount and catch the sunrise or not, it's one less time I'm going to get to do that. Once you realize that whether or not you do something is one less time you'll ever get to do it, you unlock something in yourself. It might have just happened to you then, in that moment of silence. I hope it did. Your mind focuses in, and you really realize, holy shit, I need to do this. The world doesn't care whether I do it or not, but I do. I need to see the sunrise. I need to visit this person. I need to make that call. I need to get on that plane and do that thing. Take that job. Think back to moments in your life for me. Just think back. Think back to moments that you miss because they're gone. There will be a lot. I'm sure there'll be lots of moments in your life that you now miss because they're over. It's all the more reason to be present in the moments that you face now, because you never know what you've got till it's gone. As we navigate our way through life, we often find ourselves caught up in the daily hustle and bustle. We have dreams, aspirations, and things we want to achieve, but somehow, amidst all the noise and the chaos, we forget that time is a limited resource, the most important limited resource. It's easy to get lost in pursuit of distant goals, to get wrapped up in our plans for the future, but what if we were to remind ourselves as often as possible that life is inherently impermanent? What if we would remind ourselves of this? What if we would embrace the concept that every moment we're living right now is a unique, unrepeatable gift? Unique and unrepeatable. Recognizing the finite nature of life is like adjusting the lens through which we view the world. See the world through a lens, make that adjustment. It's not about living in a state of urgency, a constant rush, but rather about shifting our perspective to see the beauty, the significance, and the potential in this present moment. When we understand that every interaction, every experience, and every opportunity is limited, it transforms the way that we engage with them. Living intentionally means choosing to be fully present in each moment. It means savoring conversations, savoring experiences, and even savoring challenges. Because we understand that they won't last forever. When we grasp that idea that the clock is ticking, we're naturally inclined to make the most of what we have. It prompts us to prioritize, to invest our time, and to let go of what doesn't align with our values. Imagine waking up every day with the thought of, this day will never come again. In a positive way. Imagine waking up with that thought. Today is a day that will never come again. How would that influence your choices? How would you treat the people around you? How would you approach your work, your passions, your relationships? Maybe relationships you haven't started yet, jobs you haven't applied for yet, conversations you're yet to have. The awareness of life's impermanence is a call to action. It encourages us to mend broken relationships or to end them entirely, to pursue our dreams, to experience the world, and to make choices that align with our deepest, truest desires. In many ways, the complacency that can arise from this sort of passive, she'll be right attitude that we talked about last week is challenged by the realization it's not all right. The thought that life is too short to simply wait for things to fall into our laps and fall into place prompts us to take charge, grab life by the horns, and give it a good bloody go. It urges us to step out of our comfort zone, to embrace uncertainty, and to make a decision to live and decide to do things that align again with our truest self. Embracing that finite nature of life, adjusting that lens, it doesn't mean we have to live in that constant rush. Instead, it allows us to savor each moment. In a society often characterized by that rush, the lens of the impermanence, it offers a way to break free from the worry and embrace a more purposeful existence. A more purposeful existence. When we look at the world through a fresh set of eyes in this way, this fresh perspective, it reminds us that everything from material possessions to minor inconveniences is temporary. The lives and the worries that once seemed all-consuming start to pale in comparison to the grand journey that is your life. When we truly internalize the impermanence of life, we find ourselves naturally letting go of the bullshit. We just, shake it off. The petty annoyances, the passing judgments, the shits, the angries. They lose their grip on our thoughts. The shift in perspective allows us to prioritize what genuinely matters, our relationships, passions, and personal growth. As the weight of that worries lift, so does the burden of stress and anxiety. I'm not brushing over this. I'm not making it, not trying to call light to something that's heavy in a lot of people's lives, stress and anxiety and depression. But when you can appreciate that the time is finite, you start to see it in that bigger picture. Or you start to at least try. And trying and starting, like we talked about last week, is half the battle. If you just try, if you just start, you're 100% further than you were yesterday. By understanding that life is a series of fleeting moments, we're no longer consumed by what might go wrong. We're not worried about the problem of tomorrow. We're not worried about the negative. The negatives come and the negatives go. We become less fixated on the what if, and we get more focused on the what now. Shout out to a great TV show when I was a kid growing up. What now? What now? A little off topic. The perspective of impermanence, the lens, it brings us into the present moment. We recognize that the only true reality is now, and we start to appreciate each moment. We become attuned to the sights and the sounds and the sensations around us. Our interactions become deeper. Our experiences can become richer, and our presence can become more profound. Living in the now without the weight of unnecessary concerns allows us to cultivate mindfulness. We become more aware of our thoughts and emotions, making it easier to navigate them. We're better equipped to deal with the challenges as we approach them with a clearer, calmer mind. Think back to the last time you were in a situation that was stressful. Think back to the last time you were in a situation that made you angry, uncalm, that made you anxious. There was some negativity there, and negativity is all around us. It is a pretty decent chunk of the human experience, negativity. But if you were to approach that with the mindset of, and it's just that shift, it's just that lens we talked about, this is fleeting. This too shall pass. I think of that. I think of a video of Tom Hanks. And Tom Hanks, someone asks him, what's one piece of advice that you would love, that you would love to have told yourself as a younger self? And he says, this too shall pass. He says that you're having the worst day of your life, the most horrible, you've lost the house, you've lost the job, someone's passed away, the worst day of your life. This too shall pass. You're having perhaps the best day, the best moment, the happiest feeling, the most ecstatic and top of the charts you've ever frickin' been. This too will pass. Living in the now without the worry of those unnecessary concerns, we cultivate that mindfulness. We really, really do. The perspective of this too shall pass, the lens shift in focus, it also fosters resilience. When we acknowledge that life is a mix of joy and sorrow, of positivity and negativity, of success and failure, we become more equipped to handle whatever comes our way. We're no longer shaken by every setback, every little thing that goes wrong. It doesn't shake us. It doesn't hit the core, because we know at the core, we recognize that even though tough times are present, they're part of life, but they're also part of life's impermanent nature. Every little setback should not put you on your ass. Every little setback should not ruin your day. Some of them will, but you should be able to look at them, pick yourself up off the ground, and appreciate that this too shall pass. As we let go of the insignificant, we find ourselves living with a greater presence, the reduced stress, the appreciation for what truly matters, the reminder, the lens shift allows you to see that every moment is a gift. As I said at the start, an unrepeatable gift. Unique, unrepeatable gift. The perspective is a reminder our full attention and gratitude should be on the now. By focusing on the now, we build a foundation for life that's not only lived, but it's lived to the absolute fullest. So, what have we covered off? We've talked about the impermanence of life. We've talked about being aware that the grass may not always be greener. We've talked about shifting the lens to see the insignificant for what it is, insignificant. Being present in the moment. You're going to hear me say that a lot. And we navigate our way through life and challenges come our way, but know that the challenges aren't forever. The challenges may be for now. You may be in the worst place of your life right at this moment when you're seeing this, hearing this, watching this. It will pass. I hope sincerely that you know that. And I hope that this has assisted you, even in some miniature way, to helping move past that darkness or that challenge. Be aware that every moment's fleeting. Be aware that everything you do, every time you do something, is one less time you might get to do it. Not might. It is one less time you'll get to do it. I hope that this episode, if nothing else, has inspired you to slow down. I hope that this episode has inspired you to take a step back and appreciate the present. Getting goosebumps at the moment. By incorporating this new lens into your life, you will notice some changes. they might not necessarily be easy changes either. There's going to be relationships in your life that aren't doing it for you. There's going to be people in your life that suck energy more than they give it, that take your happiness away more than add to it. And you're going to need to make some hard calls. There's always hard calls. But you make those and the moments pass. Live in the present. Enjoy the now. Embrace the beauty of each moment. I'm Isaac Jakobs, and we're all gonna